Hello, Nevada. How are you today? I'm going to try and do this part 2 of this 8-track thing you got going on. I'm going to take one apart and see if I can show you how they're made inside. This one here is from the 70s. It's a Mamas and Papas tape, or Abba's tape, sorry. And typically what breaks on them is, here's your magnetic tape inside, and it's held together with some tape and a tinfoil strip when they assemble it. And the strip's about 1 centimeter long, and the glue gets dry after 40 years, and you plug them into the machine and they quit playing music, and you look in the end and there's no tape here because it has come apart. And I've done, on my 120 tapes, I have repaired 120 of them. And I just use this Scotch tape here to re-glue it back together. So what I'm going to do is try and take, this one's been apart before, and I'm going to try and get it apart again to show you the insides. When they're not fooled with and they're new, there's usually 5 holes in the bottom of the tape cassette, the plastic box, and they're a spring-loaded plastic lock. So what I'm going to do, this one's been apart before, so there's a couple of the locks are broken, and I use Scotch tape to hold it together on both sides. And there's the title paper on here holds it together as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut the tape just around the edge with my jackknife, and then I'll cut across the back. Hopefully I get the seam where the seam is that holds the 2 halves together. I don't know if you can see that good. So now that I've got that loose, what I try and do is I try and work it apart. This one's coming apart easy because it's been apart before. So now I gotta turn it over and pry these little pins back so that it will come apart at the back end. So I'm just gonna work at that a little bit. So there it is. Now when you take them apart, you gotta unstack them in the right order, which means you take the top off and you turn it over. So if you can see that, this foam here will fit in here when you put it together, and it holds the tape against the reading heads of your machine right here. And this foam rubber will deteriorate and turn to ashes over 40 years. So I replace this with a little piece of weather stripping. I just cut it and slide it down over these pins. And on the endless tape, this is the 30 or 40 or 50 meters of tape inside here, and they call it an endless reel. And what that means is when you plug it in the machine, there's a drive pin that rubs against this wheel, and it squeezes the tape against it. And I'll show you how it works. It will pull the tape along, and if you watch, you can see the tape come out of the middle of the reel and rewind on the outside. And they have a certain amount of looseness on this so that it will just continue to feed. So as the machine pulls the tape, you can see how it comes out of the middle and winds back around the outside, and it just goes around and around and around and around and around, and it just keeps going like that. And usually when the tape is broken, You have to wind it by hand a little bit. You can't get it too tight, it can't be too loose. But that's how the endless tape system works in this thing. When I put them together, I'll pull this tape out a few inches, and I'll put Scotch tape across the back of it, a little strip, and glue it together and put the little tin foil. The reason the tin foil strip is on this is when it passes the electric head on your machine, it triggers the machine to switch tracks, and the machine will move up or down to the next track of music. There's 4 tracks on this tape. So that tinfoil strip, wherever it is in here right now, will come around, and then the machine sees it and it switches the tracks. So the repair of them is not really too hard. The tape runs over this angled piece of plastic, around this end, through here, and back to the outside, and it'll just keep going around and around and around. When I'm done and I've got it together and I pull it and it seems like it's going to work, then what I'll do is carefully make sure the tape is behind the plastic ears here, and I'll turn this top over and just carefully snap it back down like that. And this one, the pins are broken on the bottom, so it's not snapping in, but I'll just put a little piece of tape down each side and across the back, and that holds it together. And here you can see how the shaft would turn. It turns in this direction, and that pulls the tape across so it can go back in. And I can repair one maybe in 5 to 10 minutes. The older I get, the shakier I get, so it gets a little bit harder for old people to do this. But that's what the inside of the tape looks like, and that's how you fix them. And it's a kind of a fun hobby if you're into old music and old electronics. So give that a go. If your kids can find one and practice taking it apart, the first few, they'll end up with 30 yards or meters of tape laying on the floor in their house because it takes a little practice. So have fun with that, and we'll talk to you soon.